Okay, we are doing 3.8a and B, so you'll watch both videos. 3.8a is this first video dealing with the slopes of parallel lines. The next video deals with the slope of perpendicular lines. So the first one says if two non-vertical lines are parallel, then their slopes are equal. Converse of that is also true. If two lines have equal slopes, then the lines are parallel. Okay, you could say that both ways. And then the second point here says any two vertical lines or horizontal lines are parallel. So if I have two vertical lines, they will be parallel. The way we mark that is with the little arrows. If I have two horizontal lines, they will be parallel. Okay. So this first one, it says the line goes through the point -3, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And -1, -4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to draw that line in. Okay, and then the second line, it says goes through -1, 5. And 2, -4. And we draw that line in. Okay, and the question is, are line 1 and line 2 parallel? Now, that totally depends on their slope. So this was line 1, this was line 2. Okay, like I showed you in 3.7, you can just count what your slope is, rise over run. So that's what I'm going to do for this first one, just because it's quicker. If I start at my left point here, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down, so that's -7, and then to the right 2, okay? My slope for line 1 is -7 over 2. My green line, if I start at the left point and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 1, 2, 3, so down 9 over 3. For line 2, my slope is -9 over 3, and when you reduce that, you get -3. This is -3.5. Those are not the same slope. So when they ask you, are the lines parallel? You would say, these are not parallel because it's not the same slope. Okay, so that's one way to do the problem. The other way is maybe they give you points and you don't want to graph it. Now, sometimes I tell you you have to graph it. So if it says you must graph it in a quiz or a test, then graph it. But what you're doing here is you're dealing with line 1 and line 2, and we want to know their slope. So I'm not going to graph this one. I'm just going to find the slope on this one. So for this first one, if we call this x1, y1 and x2, y2, we would go y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and now we need to simplify that. So 2 minus 6 is -4. -1 minus a negative is plus a positive. So -1 plus 13 is 12. And then always reduce. So this would be a -1 over 3. Okay, so this is the slope of line 1, -1 over 3. Then let's do line 2. If we call this x1, y1 and x2, y2, we would go y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, simplify that. Oops, that's minus a negative. We get 2 over a -6. And when you reduce, that would be a -1/3, just like it was for line 1. This is line 2. So notice we have the same slope. So when they ask you, are the lines parallel? We would say yes, they have the same slope. Now, sometimes you can have lines where it's the same slope and the same y-intercept, and then we wouldn't say they're parallel, which is why it is a good idea to graph it. But if you just visualize, like these are not going to be the same line. So then you can just say they would be parallel, they have the same slope. Okay. All right, example 3, it says, what is the equation of the line parallel to this line that contains this point? So you have a point, and we know a slope. So we're going to put this into point slope form. Excuse me. Okay, the way we do that is we are going to look at this equation, but the only thing we care about in this whole equation, oops, pen back. We don't care about the -5, we don't care about the x, we don't care about the y equals. The only thing we want to pull out of this is whatever comes right in front of the x, because that is our slope. So the slope is -3, okay? And if it's parallel, it's going to have the same slope. So we're going to take this slope and this point, and we're going to put that into point slope form. So we're going to go y minus our y value equals a slope of -3 times x minus our x value. So that's minus a negative is going to be plus a positive. So it's going to be y minus 8 equals -3 times x plus 1. Okay, and that is the line that is parallel to this line through that point. Okay, same idea for the second one. Maybe pause this and try it on your own first. But now that you've done that, coming back to me, we are looking for a slope. Okay, so the slope of the line parallel to this line, we don't want the -7, we don't want the x. This negative is like a -1. We don't want the y. We just want that -1. So our slope is going to be -1, and then this is going to be our x1 and y1. And again, we're going to put it into point slope form. So to do that, it's going to be y minus 3, my y1 value, equals -1 for our slope, and then x minus a -5. So the simplest way we can write that, y minus 3 equals -1 times x plus 5. Technically, so this is a great answer, or maybe you don't want to put the 1 in. You could just write negative x plus 5. That's fine too. Either one of those is great. Okay. And then I just want to do one more problem here with you before you move on to 3.8b, and that is this. I want you to rewrite in slope-intercept form and ask yourself the question, are they parallel? Okay, so let me give you two equations here. Let's say we have 3x plus 4y equals 12, and then we have 6x plus 2y equals 6. Okay, in order to know their slope, we need to put it into slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form, you are just solving for y. We want y equals something. So for this first one, we're going to take away a 3x from both sides. So we get 4y equals -3x plus 12, and then we're going to divide by 4. So y equals -3/4 x plus 3. Okay, so that's our first one. Second one, the green one here, again we want to solve for y. So we're going to take away 6x. Sorry, that's the intercom. Take away 6x from both sides. So this is gone. We have 2y equals -6x plus 6, and then we're going to divide by 2. So y equals, this is a -3x plus 3. Okay, the question is, are the lines parallel? And here's what you should be looking at. This one has a slope of -3. This one has a slope of -3/4. We would say, no, these are not parallel. because they have different slopes. Okay, so that is 3.8a.